Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a pretty entertaining email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a young guy. He's only 23 years old, and he's writing in to share his story from like 9-10 years ago when he was 13-14 years old with his first girlfriend. First girlfriend, of course, first love, and how as these things usually go, they usually, fizzle, and the guy gets his heart broken and all that. But you're going to see in this story, guys, how when things happen with her, and things she does, the guy handles things pretty well in a funny way to get her out of his life, if you will, when she starts being a bit difficult. And you're going to see how 10 years in the future, our guy here is doing pretty well. And to no surprise, this gal who went on the wrong path ain't doing so well. And I'm going to go over here a little, flashing back to the past when we were all young in junior high and the things we went through and all that. And, the thing is this, is when we're that young, junior high, that type of thing, we're kids. We're kids, boys and girls. We do dumb things. We make mistakes. But it's what we do and learn from those mistakes that we do in general, to other people, that sets the course for the rest of our lives, So I don't fault people as much, obviously, when they're kids doing dumbass things when they're kids. I mean, in junior high, you could literally have a different girlfriend every week, and a girl breaks up with a guy, and he breaks up with a girl, and you can be heartless, and still, people do some mean things. But when they're that young, it's different when you compare it to when they're an adult, adults and making those type of decisions. So anyway, I thought we'd going to go over here to show you some of those things here, and to show you typically where these people who do these a-hole things when they're younger don't learn, and where they end up later in life. So it starts off, says here, hey SSM, I'm a long-time viewer that's on and off with your content. Mostly as life either gets really busy for me or other priorities take hold, but in my spare time I always love to hear what you have to say. Brother, I appreciate your support. Spread the word to the other young guys out there that will listen. I'm a 23-year-old viewer, but this is about my first girlfriend almost a decade ago when I was in middle school and beginning high school, as I have quite a story about her and a pretty recent update about her. I guess I'll have to start with a bit of context about me in that time of my life. In a long story short, I was the outcast that nobody liked, though nobody knew why they didn't like me. Well, they probably knew why. It's just been a thing since kindergarten, and it was just easy to disassociate with me if you wanted to be popular. Therefore, I had to grow a personality of my own to combat or guard myself by convincing myself that I'm the one who's better than them. Well, bro, I was always definitely a black sheep when I was younger. I was always kind of I wouldn't say a total outcast, but I couldn't stand the kids I went to school with. I thought most of them were a bunch of freaking D-bags. I had my gang of friends always, junior high, elementary school, high school, and girlfriends here and there, but I just didn't, I was different, and I get that. And I certainly did things that didn't help myself at times, as a round and round, it's like we didn't start the fire type of thing, But I get it. Occasionally, I had people who made the effort to come to me and understand me and even defend me, and those are the people I kept close as my friends. I was never the one who extended my hand. In my spare time, I was an artist and a story writer. Because of my relationship with my dad, I was a very nerdy kid who was also really into action and superheroes, comics, Star Wars, and anime. And usually when I was done with my assignments in school, I would work alone on my own studies inspired by the works of fiction I loved to consume. A lot of times I would work on character designs, and this is how I met my best friend, who we will call for the sake of his privacy, Anthony. Well, that's cool, man. You got some skills as an artist. Continue on with that. You never know what your skills and passion for this type of thing could lead you in life. Seriously. Anthony was also a nerdy kid like me who admired my work and offered to collab. While at first I wasn't warm to his offer, his insistence to be friends with me eventually broke through. So you were like me, you didn't trust anybody. It's hard to remember the times he and I weren't together back then until I think about the times I was instead with Nikki. Here we go. Enter Nikki. Well, I'm glad she didn't get in the way, obviously, of your friendship with your bro here. I met both Anthony and Nikki after I got transferred from one classroom to the other. I remember on the first day of the transfer, the class was talking about my relationship status and never having a girlfriend, and me saying I didn't feel like I was missing out on too much. Relationship status? Junior high relationship status? You got a lot more important things to talk about. Was that a measure that a lot of people had back then? Okay. You don't need a fucking relationship status in junior high. So for how Nikki and I met, it is important to know that I wear glasses and my parents hadn't taken me to see the eye doctor as of yet. And apparently neither had Nikki, so occasionally she'd come sit next to me in front of the class and take notes with me, and it led to talking. In other words, she was chasing after you, coming in your orbit, as they say, as the dating coaches say, the orbit. I used to carry 2 binders, one for school. It was pretty small and neat. There was also the portfolio of art, which was bulky, and the papers were messy. Now, if I ever accidentally dropped it, there'd be papers scattered all over the hallway or classroom. While we were talking, Nikki decided to go through my portfolio and organize it for me. Shocker. With lots of compliments about my art, suggestions, questions, and she asked to keep. Some she asked to keep. This wasn't the first time that I talked to Nikki, but it was the first time I looked at her and she walked away. My standards apparently weren't as high as a 13-year-old. Dude, when you're 13, you'll take any female attention you can get. Unless you're like the top 5%, notice this, the top 5% of the guys in junior high. Pretty much every other guy's going to take any female attention they can get. There's not much details between the long story short that we dated, except a few quick notes I'd like to make. Not Anthony, but another friend of mine also really liked Nikki as well. We will call him John. And Anthony warned me that she's already had a boyfriend who didn't go to her school. Hang on here. She's now your little junior high girlfriend, but supposedly she has a boyfriend in another school. I would be investigating that. My parents were anti-social media and anti-dating, and I had no way of talking to her outside of school. Well, I can't blame your parents. After a couple months of talking to her and resisting asking her about because of Anthony's warning, one day while I was drawing in class, she whispered into my ear, "I love you." I dropped my pencil and turned to see her running away. I thought a lot about it and told her, "I love you too," in the next class. Blah. I'm sure in that split second of a moment, she was feeling something along the lines that she classified as love. And of course, because it was the first chick to say it to you, you, of course, felt something that could be classified as love. But generally, junior high love ain't like real love. And even then, men and women don't love the same. And especially if she has another boyfriend, unless she wants to love everybody. And probably in college, she did love a lot of dudes at the same time. Yeah, I did not question her about the already having a boyfriend thing. I assumed that must have ended without me knowing. Smack! I know I'm slapping a 13 or 14-year-old, but you gotta know, you must always investigate, even when you're 13 or 14. About 2 weeks of her and I dating, and suddenly she stopped attending school. I never had any warning or closure. She just stopped attending school. You couldn't call her up on her phone, shoot her a text. On the celebration during the last day of school, some girl told me that my girl was having a train ran on her. Yeah, the two guys thing. But given the way I was used to being treated, I didn't believe her. So, the first girl that gives you attention, your first girlfriend, probably the first girl you made out with, or maybe gone to second base with at that point, and told you she loves you, you didn't want to believe that she could be with another dude. See, guys, this shit starts early, you know? Then summer vacation happened, and then I went into high school, and the first week of school was nice. I hung out with Anthony a lot, but the second week of school, she returned. So that's it. She disappeared, and you didn't know why. You didn't hear from her. No texting, no phone calls. That's the weird fucking part. I know your parents were anti-social media and anti-dating, but I'm sure you had a cell phone, and you could text in 2013 or whatever the hell it was. That's the weird part here. Anthony saw her first and rushed me away from her without telling me anything but run, and then pushing me away. Well, Anthony knows to protect you from yourself. Then telling me that he saw Nikki and not to talk to her. That couldn't be helped because she and I had the same gym class. And as soon as we saw each other, we kissed. Oh, for God's sakes. And then we dated for a month before she broke up with me. Shocker. Drama, drama, drama. So, again, junior high, you got a girlfriend one week, and the next week you got another, and you get the freaking point here. And obviously she has some other guy and is, playing you like a fiddle. And that is awful no matter what. But 13 and 14, people do dumb things, and they can learn from that and not do that shit again, or they continue this on in life. And take a wild guess what path she's going to take here. She broke up with me, and what was weird was that while we were dating, there was another guy in the gym class who just stood in the dark corner she always wanted to talk to. And then she broke up with me. She didn't do it. She sent to him to do it for her. She had another guy that liked her but broke up with you for her. I'd tell that guy to say, I'd be like, dude, F off. Tell her to do her own dirty work. Because of my guarded personality, I always had a principle not to get chased to be accepted. Well, that's a good principle. So I didn't show her that I was hurt or sad. I just calmly said, okay. And the guy had the audacity to approach me later to make sure I was okay. Good for you. You didn't give her the drama she wanted. Notice that, guys. He wasn't going to cry. He wasn't going to act upset. And watch this, how she reacts. Something that made the breakup easier was that from the day we dated, I already knew she wasn't my endgame. I did love her, but I'm very observant. There was no way I was going to be the perfect boyfriend in my first relationship. So I was already at peace that we wouldn't last. Nevertheless, it still hurt at the time. Yeah, you were peaceful. It wasn't the end of your world, but sure, it still hurt. And they do, even back in junior high. And you got a very good lesson about female nature. And that shit starts early as back then. Shit that starts in junior high, for Christ. I mean, elementary school. People had girlfriend. When I was in elementary school, by the 5th fucking grade, you know, people saying that we're going out. That was the term for relationship. That we're going out. You go to an elementary school dance, and a guy and a gal do the last dance. You know, it's all fast dancing, and all the guys stand in one corner, and all the girls are there dancing around. And then like they play the last fucking song of the elementary school dance. It's a slow song. That's the only way guys can dance. And they go and strike up the courage to go ask that girl to dance. And the next thing you know, the next day they're going out. You know? And then the girl dumps him the next day. And that shit starts early. She started wanting my attention again. Oh, there's a surprise because you weren't giving it to her. And I wanted nothing to do with her. So I started skipping gym. And whatever Anthony's class was, he skipped it with me. Anthony even said he knew a good spot where we could talk about comics and work on it and hide out. Well, guess who found our skipping spot and rattled on us? During gym, we peeked in to see the principal and the school security patrolling our spot, so we went elsewhere. Well, if you're not careful, you miss too many classes, you may have to redo the year, I kid you not. That's how psycho they can be, even fucking gym. Anthony was quite pissed about her chasing me and trying to talk to me to bother me, so he went to my grandma's house. She Googled some document. We Googled some documents for a legit restraining order, photoshopped it to address her, and during lunch the next Monday, he delivered the fake restraining order to her. So these are the smart kids, and they have skills, and they got a fake restraining order and gave it to her. That's hilarious. Now, I would assume she knows it's not going to hold up, but it says something about her and the way she's behaving. That's hilarious, man. She got up and she was livid. Meanwhile, me and Anthony were getting ready to bolt out of the lunchroom and jump the gate. We saw her get up and turn to us, and we got up and ran. As soon as we knew we were safe, we laughed and took deep breaths. That's funny, man. Weirdly, from then on in, she stopped messing with me. Eventually, I did also have to start attending gym class again. The last time I talked to her, we did make peace, only because her new boyfriend, who was my friend, also liked her, that I mentioned earlier, John. Again, welcome to junior high, or early high school. New boyfriend every fucking week, or new girlfriend every week. And people in the friend group swap girlfriends and boyfriends. John and Anthony were laughing at her because she came to school bald-headed. What? Is she one of these weirdos that probably changed her appearance every other week to find out who identity crisis? Now she's shaving her head. Sinead there. And my talk was more out of pity or maybe something more sinister. That she didn't look like she was doing very well, and I was. And that she never came back to school. It also turns out that same day we broke her up, and John hooked up in front of the guy that told me she wanted to break up. You know, it turns out he wanted to hook up, but instead got cucked. So here's today. I'll start with Anthony. So we're fast-forwarding in time, 10 years. Anthony's in the military. Unfortunately, we stopped talking, but we both still considered each other's friends. Well, you should reach out to Anthony, man. You know, I'm not a fan of social media. I'm not on any. I have one Instagram account, personal one, that has 22 fucking followers, and they're all family and a really close friend of mine, who I consider family. That's it. But if you're on social media nowadays, perhaps you can reach out to him. You know? This is for me. I work really hard, and in my spare time I still do comics. One that I'm working on right now is really inspired by Star Wars, or more so the fact that when something isn't done right, that's something you just got to do yourself. It's not the Star Wars IP, it's something that is mine and very unique enough to be its own thing when you have a overpowered protagonist that's destined for the dark side. You know who to thank for that. I hope I can really get into the launch. Dude, if you have skills, if you have talents for art and comics is your passion, you can do it. Keep practicing. Keep doing what you got to do. Talk to who you got to talk to see if you can get your own book going. You know, don't give up. You're 23. You got your whole fucking life ahead of you. Plenty of people that had success in anything. Comics. Started off just like you with great talent, great art skills, storytelling, and they didn't give up. So go for it. And for Nikki. Let's see how little Nikki's doing today. Little Nikki. And for Nikki, it's what had me thinking about this entire memory. I saw her name on a post with a picture of her mugshot. Mugshot, huh? Sounds like she's not doing so well. Usually guys say their ex later looks fat, but she was skinnier, in a way that looked unhealthy and likely she was on drugs. I decided to look her up and found that the mugshot came from her being found in a stolen vehicle in possession of drugs. I also found her Facebook that dated before her and I dated, during her and I dated, and after. Post with a 20-year-old guy who was her boyfriend. Post even professing her love for him and what she'd do for him and what he does for her. Yikes. And that is the end of that. That'd be a good one to go over, like I said. A little throwback to the junior high days and the things that start. You can see where people develop their personalities and bad habits and way of doing things. You saw with her how going through one guy after the other. And again, that crap happens in junior high, but clearly she didn't care. Didn't care about anybody's feelings, not this guy alone. And look what she's doing now. You know, mugshots, busted for drugs. She looks like she's clearly on drugs, not doing well. She chose the wrong path. And he said this was the nerdy girl that probably would have made something of herself, but has gone down the wrong path with the wrong people. And you know what? Too fucking bad. But our guy here, you know, he's doing well for himself. He has a dream. And I hope you definitely fulfill that and go for that. So, bro, good for you for not falling down the bad path like her. And carrying on. And I think it's hilarious that you and your bro did a fake restraining order and gave it to her. Because I'm assuming if she had half a brain, knew that wasn't real. But it was just you doing so to make a point. That's pretty hilarious. And I'm sure it made its point. All right, guys. That's it for today. Quick one. Be sure to comment down below. Let this guy know what you think. Give him a shout out. Give him a shout out for his junior high stories. And wish him well. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.